Well, hey there, how are you? So, I got a question for you. Have you ever found yourself deleting somebody from your social media or walking away from a conversation with someone because of a disagreement or an inability to communicate openly? What I want to do today is give you 10 quick, easy tips to improve on your communication skills. Alright, so if you've ever taken a professional communication skills class, you were probably taught a few key concepts like eye contact, planning ahead on topics, or paraphrasing back to make sure that you're showing you understand, nodding and smiling to gain agreement. While those are all tried and true communication methods, I will tell you they are sorely out of date. A lot of the inspiration for the 10 communication tips that I'm going to give you came from a TED Talk that I recently saw. I'll put the link to that in the description below. A lot of these skills are actually used when interviewing people, which is something I do a lot in my professional life. I'm going to count down these tips from 10 to 1, so let's start with number 10. Number 10, be present in the conversation. Don't multitask. In today's world, this little device right here is the biggest hindrance to communication that there is. You can't give half of your attention to the conversation. Everyone out there, especially younger folks, think that they can multitask and think on two levels at once. I'm here to tell you it's not true. If you're trying to do several things at one time in the course of your conversation, you are ultimately not showing that individual you're talking to that they have your full attention or respect. Speaking of which, when it comes to number 9, the advice is to be genuinely interested in the person you're talking to. I get it. There's a lot of conversations we have in our day-to-day life that we have to have. We don't have a choice. We have to communicate with other people. I'll be the first to attest that I don't like everybody I have to deal with on a regular basis. But the fact is, if you're looking for solid, effective communication with someone else, you're talking to this person for a reason. You might as well put as much into it as you possibly can. A great quote from Bill Nye is, "Everyone you meet knows something that you don't." Let's talk about some more specifics. The number 8 tip is to use open-ended questions when engaging. If you don't know the difference between an open-ended and a closed-ended question, it's very simple. Anything you ask that can be answered with a simple yes or a no is a closed question. It closes that portion of the conversation. Nothing else can really be said without having to go in another direction or asking the same question again. Open-ended questions are those that invite more detail from the person in order to provide a response. Let's say you're talking to somebody about a difficult experience they had recently. You could ask, "Were you scared?" Well, what's the answer to that going to be? Yes or no? Instead, ask a question like, "What was that like? How did that make you feel?" Those questions around the same subject are going to get you a much bigger, probably more useful response. Number 7, go with the flow. Now, most conversations tend to have a specific purpose. Maybe there's a specific topic in mind. Maybe it's a social gathering where people are talking about something particular. As humans, it's in our nature to kind of go off on tangents or to try and expand a topic in order to bring more of our experiences into it. As long as you're following along and you can tell that you have the buy-in and the attention of the group around you or the individual in front of you, don't be afraid to go with the flow. Expand the conversation a little bit, but I'll caution you not to go too far off the rails. If you go off wildly in some direction and everyone around you is starting to look at each other, pay attention to those cues, which in its own way is going with the flow of what's going on around you. Number 6, don't embellish. If you don't know something, say you don't know. A lot of people have a tendency to try to concoct experiences or knowledge that they frankly don't have. It has to do with trying to fit in and trying to identify with the individuals you're talking to. But in terms of maintaining credibility with others around you, it's not going to do you any good. There's too great a risk that you're going to be asked for additional information, probably with open-ended questions. It's going to paint you into a corner. You're not going to be able to talk your way out of it. Stick to what you know, and if you don't know, say so. Talk should not be cheap. Similarly, the number 5 tip is don't equate. If someone is sharing a specific experience, there's a tendency to try to identify with this person by leaping in with your own version of that experience or those events. Oftentimes, and especially when someone's talking about a difficult situation, having the person in front of them or the people around them try to equate to their experience doesn't work as well as they think it does. What you end up with is someone feeling like their experience or their knowledge is being discounted because this other person they're talking to is, oh yeah, that's nothing, I did that too. Number 4 tip, try not to repeat yourself. There could be times in a conversation where we may feel like we're not being heard, or the individual we're communicating with may offer something counter to what we've said. While that certainly invites a healthy debate, don't get caught in a loop of restating and restating and restating the same point over and over again. If you haven't convinced somebody of your point of view the first time you put it out there, the second time, maybe the third, good chance you're not going to convince. Now you've taken a conversation and effectively turned it into an argument. We're almost there. Are you ready for the top 3 tips to better communication? Number 3 is something I see in my professional life all the time. Stay on task. When providing information about an experience that you've had, nobody cares what the exact date that it took place was on. Nobody cares whether the person's name you were talking to was Julie or Cynthia. Nobody's interested to know if that was also the day that you went to that other place with these other people. If they weren't a direct part of that first experience, all of this mountain of extra unnecessary detail, and you're gonna lose their attention, or you're gonna frustrate them to the point that they cut you off and say, just get to the point. Number 2 is another big one. Just listen. Humans are very communicative creatures. I am a perfect example of somebody who runs about the mouth and doesn't know when to shut up. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that's true. Buddha famously said, when your mouth is open, you are not learning. Calvin Coolidge famously said, no one ever listened their way out of a job. It's natural that everyone in the conversation wants to talk. They want to have control of the direction of the conversation. If you truly have a goal of effectively communicating with the people around you, don't be so obsessed with controlling the conversation and making it all about you. The number 1 tip pretty much ties all of this together, and it's a quote from Stephen Covey. If you don't know who Stephen Covey is, I definitely recommend you look up some of his writing. There's a lot there for you to learn. Famous phrase that Stephen Covey gave to the world is, most of us don't listen with the intent to understand. We listen with the intent to reply. If you look back through the previous tips I've given you, this perfectly sums up the skills I'm talking about. If you're chomping at the bit to respond to something that somebody has said to you, you're probably not listening. You're probably not being present. You're not showing that you're interested in this other person. You're definitely off on another tangent that is all about you responding to what you're hearing right now before they've even stopped talking. You're probably desperate to equate one of your experiences on top of theirs. You may be ready to repeat yourself with something you said previously. You're at risk of going off on a huge tangent and derailing the whole thing. My advice to you, my friends, for more effective communication skill is listen to understand. Don't listen so that you can respond. I hope you find these tips useful. I hope that you try to use them in your daily personal and professional lives, and I would love to hear in the comments section if any of these 10 tips resonate with you. If you think I did a good job on the video, I would appreciate if you hit the like button, if you share this with your friends. Most of all, if you're new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe and come along for some more conversations. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the road.